Do you prefer boring off seasons? Whatever USC does today, it's going to affect them in August.
You are Locked On Trojans, your daily podcast on the USC Trojans. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Fight on, everyone. I'm your host, Mark Holkin, and thank you for making Locked On USC part of the Locked On Network, your first listen every day. Whether you're watching the show on YouTube, wherever you're going to download it, it's always going to be free, and I'm always going to appreciate your support. From big upsets to game-winning drives, the NFL playoffs are better with FanDuel. New customers, you can bet $5 and you can get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed. Win or lose, visit FanDuel.com to get started. Off seasons are usually good when it's boring. There's no drama, no conflict. USC is kind of in the middle. It's not boring, but there's not a whole lot of drama or conflict, other than the fact that USC is trying to fill some vacancies, through the transfer portal with players, coaching staff members, a new general manager that's coming up soon. Well, one position coach has already been filled, close to it. It's being speculated. In fact, it's being reported. It was first reported by ESPN's Pete Thamel, and it's been basically confirmed by everybody since then, that Coach Riley, he found another offensive coach. Yeah, no tight end, no linebacker coach yet, but he did find a tight end inside receivers coach. We needed a tight ends coach, right? Zach Hanson, he's been promoted. He is the offensive line coach now. Coach Riley likes to have a tight ends coach and a coach who handles the inside receivers apart from the outside receivers coach, assistant head coach, Dennis Simmons. And I think that really comes down to blocking schemes is what that's all about. Anyways, who is it? Well, USC actually hired a really good recruiter. This young man, this coach, he's one of those up-and-comers. His name's Chad Savage, and he's literally considered a really strong developer of talent, an incredible recruiter, and he knows the Southern California market like the back of his hand. I mean, he's that good. He's getting a lot of flowers from people in the industry, among his peers. So he has recently been the recruiting coordinator at Colorado State, as well as their wide receiver coach over there. Before that, he was at Nevada, and then prior to that, he was at San Diego, and he was also an offensive assistant at both of those schools as well. I mentioned he's young. He's just 30 years old. According to Mike Gundy, he's not even a man yet. But he has been the Mountain West. He was considered their top recruiter for the last 3 seasons running. He's credited with, recruiting and developing Torrey Horton, Justice Ross Simmons. Both of those guys, at least Horton, he put up back-to-back 1,000-yard seasons in 2022 and 2023. And then last year, he was off to a good start before injury kind of derailed that. So you got your tight end coach. I think one of the attributes that Coach Riley really wanted to lean into was his recruiting chops. We talk about it on the show frequently. It's one of the pet peeves that USC fans have, the perception that Lincoln Riley kind of ignores the Southern California recruiting grounds, how fertile it is. I think part of Coach Riley's thought process with this is Chad Savage, which, by the way, that's a great name, right? It sounds like should be a wrestling name. But Chad Savage is considered one of the best, up-and-comer. And if recruits like him and the high school coaches like him, which is a bigger plus, that's a big feather in USC's cap. That should help the local recruiting going forward. So now he's taken over the tight end room. I told you on yesterday's episode that Lake McCree's coming back. Huge news. But now you also have a few, second-year players that he's going to be able to coach up. Walker Lyons, Joey Olson, Walter Matthews, who I'm extremely excited to see on the field. Again, USC has not had somebody who looks like that playing that position in a long time. So I cannot wait to see him out there. And then because he'll also be handling the inside receiver duties, he has Mekhi Lemon in his charge. Jay Fair is coming back. We'll see if we can get some production out of him. And then don't forget Josiah Zamora. And you've got all those newbies, all the youngsters that are coming in as well. Not quite sure where they're going to be positioned yet. But guys like Romero Eisen, that he's probably an inside receiver, right? I would think so. So we'll see what happens there. But again, you've got your tight end coach. Maybe one of these days we'll get a linebacker coach, since that position's been open the longest, right? Anyways, I digress. I was anticipating having a special guest for you on this episode of Locked on USC. Unfortunately, for those of you who aren't aware, LA is dealing with some pretty severe fires right now in the city, and the guest came home and his power was out. So a little bit of chaos around their household, wife, daughters, family first. So we'll have him on in the future. Hope maybe even tomorrow. I don't know yet. We'll see how that works out. But again, stay safe, and everybody keep everybody in your prayers right now, because again, if you've seen it on the news, a lot of homes gone, a lot of families not sure where they're sleeping at night. Back to the USC football team. So that's part of the big news. USC hired a tight ends coach, someone with really good recruiting credentials, which I think everybody should be pretty excited about, especially since he's well respected in Southern California, not just among the high school players, but again, more importantly, with the high school coaches. I can't tell you how important that is to have that type of relationship. You want somebody in your corner who can say, you know what, mom, dad, young man, that guy, he can develop you. He's not going to BS you. He's going to tell you what you need to hear, not what you want to hear. So, go to USC. What else would you consider big news so far during this offseason? Figuratively, literally, big news was adding 700 pounds to the interior of the defensive line. Keyshawn Silver, Jamal Jarrett. Pretty big news, right? Was that bigger, more important than losing Emmanuel Prion? I don't know. Probably. I think you can figure something out of the transfer portal with an interior offensive lineman. You got guys on the roster already who are going into the second, third year in the program. So, in your opinion, what's been the biggest offseason news? Who would you add? Is it allowing Quentin Joyner to jump into the transfer portal, let him run, so to speak? Or again, is it Prion bailing on his teammates, kind of acting like Bear Alexander? I know that's a little harsh, but it's kind of, you kind of get that taste in your mouth, that feeling. He came back, he renegotiated. He said, he played in the bowl game. All of a sudden, he's in the transfer portal. Like, what happened? Well, we know what happened. Somebody made an offer. And then some other news. What are your thoughts? These are just questions I want to throw. I'm trying to spur some discussion in the comments section on YouTube. By the way, if you haven't subscribed yet, why not do it? Click that red subscribe button. You can see it right there. Smash that thumbs up. Both are going to help the show tremendously. And don't forget to hit that bell notification button so you don't miss any information and you don't miss an episode either. So the question is, what are your thoughts on USC, Coach Riley, bringing in 2 running backs through the transfer portal? It's kind of like, why does Coach Riley keep loading up in the position rooms, running back, tight end, and then ignore them during the regular season? It's a little bit better in 2024, getting the best out of Woody Marks. Probably could have gotten more had there been a little bit more attention to the run game, clock management. But I'm not going there right now. So, yeah, just seems odd. You got a bunch of running backs now. You got 2 transfers, Eli Sanders and Waymond Jordan Jr., who's coming from the JC ranks. And does he have 2 years of eligibility? Does he have 4 years of eligibility? I don't know. Who knows? And I guess the last question I want to ask, tell me if I'm overreacting with this, making a mountain out of a molehill. If the linebacker coach is coming from the NFL, which I kind of get that impression, why keep the news on ice? What's the benefit of delaying naming USC's linebacker coach if he's coming from the NFL? Put the name out there. Generate some enthusiasm, right? Personally, yeah, I'd say Chris Claiborne, Brian Cushing, come together, work it out, take over the room. Yeah. I don't know if that would ever happen, but man, I know this. Chris Claiborne would kill it with recruiting. And I also know this. Not only is Chris a very good defensive mind, excuse me, he was largely responsible for the stuff that Long Beach Poly was doing when Antonio Pierce was their head coach. That was Chris Claiborne doing the X's and O's on the defensive side of the ball. So you bring him, you add Brian Cushing and that personality, that attitude of, you better do it or I'm gonna kick your butt. Yeah, you're gonna have a room full of tough guys who want to play linebacker. Not saying USC doesn't have those guys, but those 2 gentlemen would enhance the room tremendously. So if it's not an NFL coach, I don't know what the delay is. I mean, are you still interviewing college coaches? Can't find a linebacker coach? Come on. It's not brain surgery. It's not rocket science. You never know, though. Could be a home run hire that we're just all waiting to find out. Did you know that Rocket Money will help you find any subscription you forgot about or that you were paying for twice? Yeah. Rocket Money has made it easy to track them all down. It's like having a personal assistant for your finances. Rocket Money is a personal finance app that helps you find and cancel your unwanted subscriptions. It helps to monitor your spending and it helps lower your bills so you can grow your savings. It brings everything together in one place, whether it's subscriptions, your spending habits, or even those goals you want to hit this year. Rocket Money has over 5 million users and has saved a total of $500 million in canceled subscriptions. It will also help save members up to $740 a year when you use all the app premium features. Cancel your unwanted subscriptions and reach your financial goals faster with Rocket Money. Go to rocketmoney.com/lockedon today. That's rocketmoney.com/lockedon. rocketmoney.com/lockedon. USC is planning to announce another front office general manager in the coming weeks. I'll let you know about that on yesterday's episode of Locked on USC. My everydayers, you know this. Now, I want to say this. While it's preparing for the future is important, and I think that's what the general manager is being brought in for. It's for the future of USC and college football in general, the direction it's going. And I know this is going to sound like a hyperbolic statement. Right now, today, hiring another bean counter, general manager, someone in charge of watching the money, that's not the answer to the Trojans' immediate needs. Again, I am not against bringing in another general manager, somebody to help out Dave Emmerich, help the front office, get organized, add structure. That's not going to fix USC's problems. I talked about it yesterday. I wrote about it. I wrote about this on WeAreSC.com. I said, look, 2 things can be true at the same time. College football is a mess, but at the same time, the sport is as popular as ever. Question is, for how long? I'm talking about the latter part, being popular. USC's biggest issues are the December transfer portal window. And not having a Phil Knight or someone who's willing to write those ransom checks to teenagers that say, hey, if you don't pay me, I'm jumping in the transfer portal. That's USC's issues right now. They need someone like a Magic Johnson who apparently is going to write a check whenever they need NIL assistance up in the East Lansing. He wants to see Michigan State win a national championship. We need someone at USC to step up and do that. That's their biggest challenge right now. So the question is, how much does adding an NFL type general manager help? Again, I'm not opposed to it. Bring them in. You're going to spend the money. Great. It's an investment into the infrastructure. So that money doesn't really affect, or you're not taking away from giving it, to the players or to NIL. Completely different. The LA Football Network, Ryan Dyrud, he put together a list of some really good candidates who could possibly be, up for consideration for USC's next general manager. Do you think Brandon Sosna wants to be the man? Yeah. Right now, currently, he's the senior vice president of football operations for the Washington Commanders. As you know, or you should know, most people consider him largely responsible for Lincoln Riley coming to USC. He was Mike Bohn's right-hand man. And when Coach Riley was hired at the time, it was literally considered home run. Even Paul Feinbaum's like, dude, USC killed it. I know the hypocrite has gone completely the opposite direction since, but just trying to drive that point home. Everybody said, home run hire. USC is back. Yeah, not really. They got the Heisman. They came close in year one, but since then it's been learning to adapt, I guess is the nicest way of putting it. 8-5, 7-6 after going 11-3. Yeah. Doesn't feel like USC is back. They're close though, right? Just a play away here and there. That's my sarcasm. Okay. Don't let me get into your feelings too deep. All right, guys, calm down. Some of you take this stuff way too seriously. So again, when Brandon was at USC, he was the executive senior associate athletic director, chief of staff, which I guess is your general manager's role, right? And with the Commanders, his job duties entail reporting directly to the general manager. His name is Adam Peters. He's the team's lead contract negotiator. He oversees a number of football operation departments and is one of the team's liaisons to the business operations. Again, that's according to their website. And then he also plays a role in the strategy around construction, the salary cap, the collective bargaining agreement. Remember, college football is kind of going in that direction. So does Brandon want to come back to USC? Or is he just say, you know what? Been there, done that. I'm working my way up to GM in the NFL. Because most think that's his next job, is taking a GM somewhere in the NFL. I wouldn't be upset if Brandon came back to LA. It's always nice to know somebody. Rekindle that relationship. Yeah. A couple other names. How about John McKay? Yeah, well, his grandson. Director of Pro Scouting, John McKay, LA Rams. Again, he's the grandson of the former USC coaching legend Greatness. And he's his dad, John's dad, is Rich McKay, who is currently the chief executive officer of the Atlanta Falcons. Football is in that family's blood, whether it's coaching on the sidelines or working in the front office. So that's another name to consider. Pardon me. Right now, McKay's been with the Rams since Sean McVay's been there. We know the Rams have been pretty successful. And he also works with their general manager, Les Snead, and I guess he's considered a contracted guru. His name is Tony Pastors. John McKay's name is quickly rising in the front office ranks. And I don't know if he's a few years away, but I don't know, is USC the place to learn on the job? You got that name recognition. Does USC want to fall into that legacy stuff that they used to do in the past? You know, USC was always considered incestual with their hiring. One person leaves, person behind them just steps into those shoes. USC never kind of went outside of their blue bloodline, so to speak, for a fresh perspective. Again, I'm not against John McKay, not in the least. I'm just kind of putting that out there. Do you want somebody who is coming in and looking at strictly from a business perspective without having that that USC connection, where sometimes you know your emotions can get the best of you? All right, one more segment to go. We're going into the revenue sharing era. That's supposed to start for this season, 2025. It's also going to include reduced rosters. Yeah, I believe the total number you can have on your roster, including walk-ons, 105. So here's my question: where is USC and college football in general going? Which direction is this sport going? How long before that number 105 gets cut down? And let me start over. How long before the number of teams get cut down? We go from where are we at right now in Division 1? 133, 132 teams, whatever it is. Some people already say that 12 teams in the playoffs are too many. Got news for you. That number is going to increase. Going to. TV ratings. A lot of people, including myself, believe there's going to be a breakaway. You're going to have, 40, 48, maybe 60 teams, whatever that number is going to be. They're going to break away from the NCAA. They're going to hire a commissioner. And they're going to structure themselves. It's going to look just like the NFL. I mean, there's even talk of private equity getting involved, buying college football teams. Yeah. Kind of like what's going on. Yeah. I don't know if that's a great idea, but there are discussions about that. So where's this sport going? And if you're going to cut teams, and this is all about finances, being financially competitive, I'm going to throw out a scenario for you here. What happens when you start lowering these scholarship numbers? Right now, it's 85 per school. That's how it's capped at 85. That's how many you can have on scholarship. But if the NFL can work with a 53-man roster and a practice squad, then why can't colleges function with 70 scholarships? Have a roster with 70 scholarships. You're saying, well, why, Mark? Why do they need to do that? Well, that's how many you travel on your roster. When you're playing an away game, you're not bringing 85 guys. You're allowed to bring 70. You have a 2 deep. That's 22 on each side. It's 44 players. Those are your core contributors. Obviously, attrition takes over. You got injuries, whatever, stuff happens. So you got to have more backups. But again, the NFL gets away. They do it with 53. College can do it with 70. And the reason why I think this is going to happen is whatever their revenue sharing percentage is going to be, it's going to be like 22% or 20.5%. I'm not sure it's going to be somewhere between 20.5% to 22%. That's what people are kind of basing it on right now. But that number, it has to be divided among the entire athletic department. Yeah, all the sports, not just football, not just basketball, all the sports. So if the majority of that revenue sharing money is going to be spent on football and basketball, and if there's going to be anything left over for the Olympic sports, baseball, tennis, golf, water polo, swimming, track and field, volleyball, you're going to have to, you got to find money somewhere. And one way you can find money is by reducing your football scholarship numbers. I'm not saying it's going to happen. I'm saying it could happen. Again, I think eventually the top 40, 68, 64 teams, they're going to give the middle finger to the NCAA. They're going to start their own league. Because I think if we're being honest, the whole charade of calling these people student athletes, going to class, that whole charade is over. I mean, do the APR scores even matter anymore? How do you calculate teams are moving in the right direction when the rosters are turning over with their players year after year after year? And I know theoretically that's what college football does. The rosters turn over year after year after year, but not at this rate, not like this. Not like this. All right, that's it for this episode of Locked On USC. USC's got a new tight ends coach, Chad Savage. They hired a great developer on the field, but he's also considered one of the top up-and-coming recruiters, and he knows SoCal, which is huge. I think USC fans are going to like that the most. And then again, we're still waiting for the linebacker coach. There's going to be a general manager announcement in the next coming weeks, week, 2 weeks, who knows? Hopefully, the sooner the better. And in fact, let's start up. Which happens first, linebacker coach or general manager? Leave your comments. Let me know. I'll be back with another episode of Locked On USC tomorrow. We'll see if we have a special guest or not. So when you're done making Locked On USC, your first listen every day, thank you so very much. Don't forget, Locked On College Football, your hosts, Spencer McLaughlin. And you better be getting on over there to weareusc.com. A lot of good written content. Scott Schrader, he's throwing up some recruiting information. So until then, everyone, you know what to do.